And I think I just figured it out. So
Did anyone notice a blip in the connection around noon today?
No. Were we supposed to?
Not at all. Cox Business just migrated everything over to the cloud, and it was so seamless you didn't even notice it. Any issues accessing that software?
No, speed's great.
Well, a secure cloud's nothing without the speed to access it. Nobody's... Right, well, enjoy your seamless cloud integration.
Experience the power of Cox Business Cloud Solutions.
Did anyone notice a blip in the connection around noon today?
No. Were we supposed to?
Not at all. Cox Business just migrated everything over to the cloud, and it was so seamless you didn't even notice it. Any issues accessing that software?
No, speed's great.
Well, a secure cloud's nothing without the speed to access it. Nobody's... Right, well, enjoy your seamless cloud integration.
Experience the power of Cox Business Cloud Solutions.
Good afternoon. Can anybody see me?
We can see you and hear you, Bob.
I can't see myself, and that's a little unsettling.
You look great.
So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob McKenna, and I hate virtual events. Just kidding. I'm Bob McKenna, President and CEO of the Virginia Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to welcome you to the latest event in the Chamber's 757 Vision Eyes on the Future series. Easygoing, the future of the Newport News Williamsburg International Airport. This highly informative and interesting series has focused on efforts that we must all support and which provide some optimism and excitement for a strong recovery and bright future. The Hampton Roads region and the peninsula specifically is home to many amazing assets as a great place to live, work, and play. In keeping with the Chamber's mission to connect business with opportunity, we have been hosting this monthly series that takes a look at some of our strengths and weaknesses in an effort to inspire, inform, and drive action. So the purpose of this series is twofold: to raise the level of awareness of those great assets, and to discuss how we can best take advantage of those assets to reignite the energy, optimism, and sense of collaboration that were present before we ever heard of COVID-19. Today's topic, the future of our Peninsula Airport, is a multifaceted subject which represents great potential as an economic driver from many perspectives, but also presents some challenges. Today's very talented panel, moderated by Angie Bezic of the Principal Advantage Government Relations Group, will discuss that great potential as well as some of the present challenges. Please listen, enjoy, and participate. There will be time at the end of the panel discussion for questions from the audience. You can use the Q&A box for questions. We would love to hear your thoughts as we move forward. Before we get started, I'd like to first recognize the elected representatives from our local, state, and federal government in today's audience. Senator Monty Mason from Virginia's 1st District, who is on our panel. Thanks for being with us, Senator Mason. Drew Lumpkin representing Senator Mark Warner's office. Mayor McKinley Price from the City of Newport News. Newport News Vice Mayor Sandra Cherry. And from the Newport News City Council, Tina Vick, Dave Jenkins, Sharon Scott, Marcellus Harris, and Pat Woodbury. Thanks to you all for joining us today. I would also like to thank our series sponsor, Cox Virginia. Cox is a highly valued partner of the Chamber, and their sponsorship for these events make it possible to offer them at no cost. Representing Cox today is Sarah Buck. Sarah is the Senior Manager of Public Affairs for Cox Virginia. She currently serves on the Virginia Peninsula Chamber's Board of Directors and the Hampton Roads Chamber's Communications Committee. Sarah has a bachelor's degree in communications from Virginia Tech. In 2016, Sarah was recognized as one of Hampton Roads' top 40 under 40 by Inside Business and is a Girl Scout Council of Colonial Coast Future Famous Former. Ladies and gentlemen, my second favorite Hokie, Sarah Buck.
Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here on behalf of Cox and our 1,600 employees who live and work in Hampton Roads and get to enjoy all that the peninsula and the greater region has to offer. It's events like the 757 Vision series that really speak to our brand at Cox. Like the Newport News Williamsburg International Airport, we're all about making connections, but in a slightly different way. Through fiber-fueled telecom services for residents and businesses on the peninsula and throughout Hampton Roads, we're bringing people closer to the things that matter most. I recently had the opportunity as a lead peninsula participant to tour the airport and hear about its vision for the future. So I'm really excited to learn even more today and hear from our great panelists about what's to come and what we can expect in the future. It's now my privilege to introduce you to today's moderator, Angie Bezic. Angie is a Hampton Roads native and military brat born at the old Portsmouth Naval Hospital. She lived in many places growing up, but decided to make this region home because it has so much to offer. Angie worked as a legislative aide for nearly 7 years until she was recruited to become the manager of the Hampton Roads office for a mid-sized government affairs firm based in Richmond. 3 years later, Angie launched her own firm, Principal Advantage Government Relations Group, LLC. Angie has been engaged with the business community through membership and collaboration for over 20 years, and we welcome her today as our moderator for today's 757 Vision Series segment, Easygoing, the Newport News Williamsburg International Airport. Angie?
All right, let me start over. I was saying, who isn't ready to fly far, far away from here after all of this shutdown and staying close to home? Well, today we have some special guest panelists who will talk to you about the good things coming to and from the Newport News Williamsburg International Airport. And then we'll take questions from you, our attendees. I know it's already been said, but for those of you who are coming in hot, please use the question and answer function on the screen rather than the chat box, because we'll be taking your questions from the Q&A box. Senator Monty Mason is our first panelist, and he represents the citizens of the 1st Senate District, which encompasses part of Hampton, Newport News, York County, Williamsburg, James City County, and Suffolk. Senator Mason has served in the Virginia General Assembly for over 7 years, and first in the House and now in the Senate. And he has worked to improve the child welfare system, protect our seniors, our service members. He's worked to create opportunities for them and small businesses and improve education for our children. And when I first met him a few years ago, before he was elected, he had already been a longtime champion of transportation, even before he came to represent us. Second panelist for this afternoon is Michael Giordano, excuse me, Mike. And he's been the executive director of the Newport News Williamsburg International Airport since November of 2017. Prior to that, he was the director of the Greater Rochester International Airport. But before serving in either of these airports, he served all of us for 26 years as U.S. Navy helicopter pilot. And I'd just like to thank you, Mike, for your service and your leadership in the protection of our United States from all around the world when you were in Germany, in Kabul, and Kandahar, in Afghanistan, and as well as the Pentagon and right here at Patrick Henry Airport, also known as the Newport News Williamsburg International Airport. As many of you are aware, Mike came in during a challenging time and began to balance things out in so many ways. And then COVID. Oh my gosh, awful. But in the time since meeting Mike, soon after his arrival to Hampton Roads, what I've learned is just he's been a very special leader. I've never seen him let anything COVID wrinkles in the fabric keep him from working diligently and with enthusiasm to achieve the goals of the airport and the authority. He's going to share some good news with you today. And our last panelist is Jay Joseph. He is the Senior Vice President of General Brokerage at the highly respected Harvey Lindsay Commercial Real Estate Company. His experience in commercial real estate, which includes development, property management, loan placement, investments, and brokerage, certainly make him the right person to be the chairman and lead the Peninsula Airport Commission. He's managed tens of thousands of residential properties, millions of square feet of commercial space, and hundreds of millions of dollars in mortgages, private real estate equity investments, commercial property sales as well. And he also serves as a trustee on the Fort Monroe Authority. I'm going to turn it over to Jay now to share some important information with you about our Peninsula Airport Commission and the airport. Jay?
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Mike Giordino and I will be trading off speaking roles in a short presentation, and we hope to leave plenty of time for questions, discussions, and input. So, Mike, over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Am I sharing the presentation? Please give me a thumbs up if I am.
You are.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Very good. All right. I just wish it would share for me. Well, thank you very much. Good to see everybody. I see familiar names in the group and partners in this adventure that we've been on. 4 years ago, I interviewed for the position. So it's kind of a milestone for me today, and good to be with Senator Mason and my chairman, and Angie. Thank you so much for the introduction. We embarked just about 2 years ago on a new branding plan. And we began to move ahead with that. And I apologize because I am not able to advance my presentation. So. I apologize. I am not able to advance the presentation. Let's see.
Well, let me, while Mike's working on that, we already have two questions, so maybe we'll do this backwards while Mike works on his, and either getting the slides over to Bob McKenna at the chamber or figures out how to advance the slides. So I'm going to jump ahead and answer the two questions that have been posted in the Q&A section. First of all, Josh Schulson has asked us, why have not more airlines realized the vast military base in this area that need convenient air transport opportunity and signed up to provide much needed and desired service? My answer to that is that we've lost two air carriers in the last 10 years. The first was AirTran. When Southwest purchased AirTran Airlines, they chose to consolidate service to just a couple of airports. They did this around the country. There were 20 some airports that suffered the consolidation. And Mike, anytime you get back, oh, there we go. Okay, so just finishing that question, I actually blame the loss of AirTran on lax antitrust regulation in Washington. And then recently we lost Delta Airlines, and that was also a federal issue because when they passed the massive COVID Relief Act for airlines, they gave billions of dollars to the airlines to keep flying. And however, there was a loophole, and the loophole said you only have to keep flying in one airport in any metro area. And so Delta decided to consolidate service to Norfolk. If you ask them today, they will tell you that there was a mistake, that they've lost market share and they abandoned profitable routes. But again, it was a loophole in this case in the federal COVID stimulus funding. So we're in the process of rebuilding that air service, bringing in new service, which we'll talk about later in the presentation. Mike, go ahead.
Thank you so much. And I do apologize, everyone. So we embarked on a new vision, mission, and marketing campaign about 2 years ago. We started looking into this, and then in earnest selecting someone to help us out with that and roll it out. And of course, we want to be your first choice for air travel. We understand the conditions, and I think the chairman laid them out perfectly in answering the couple questions that were already there. It has been a challenge because of external factors, nothing to do with this place and nothing to do with any of the operations here, but certainly business and government decisions that were made. But we want to be your primary choice for air travel. And we know we can play to our strengths, which is we're fast, easy, and enjoyable. And fast can be defined as in many different ways, but I think we all know that when we say 15 minutes from the curb to the gate, we mean it, and we can produce that, and our competition cannot. So from door to door or from curb to gate, we want to be your choice. And then, of course, seamless. What does seamless mean? Well, it means a lot of things that are different things to people, but it's almost like you weren't even here. And we're going to play on words in our advertising and other things in the future to make it unremarkable that you were here, because we want you to concentrate on your destination and your travel and not getting in and out of the airport and making that a difficult situation. You can also see what we're concentrating, especially in Q1, Q4 of 2021, where we are trying to reach, which is primarily the peninsula. We know people travel from all over the place to get to us and will travel by car to get to this airport if we have the air service. But right now we're concentrating on the peninsula in our marketing campaign. So what's our opportunity? Well, right now, 91% of our customers are choosing another airport. We know that for a fact. And as of recent, Richmond, it tops the list of where they go to get air service. Norfolk's always a challenge, and the chairman already discussed about how the CARES Act hurt us in a way. And I'm grateful to so many people on this call right now for their support back in April of 2020, when we put in a show cause order and letters of support to reverse the decision from US DOT for Delta or American to walk away from this airport. Unfortunately, our efforts didn't pan out. Delta left, but American stayed, and they've been doing great ever since. But we leak a lot of traffic. So we know we have opportunity. And why do we leak? Well, people say it's cheaper to go elsewhere. And we're asking you to consider it. If you book in advance and you consider your time, maybe it's not cheaper. Faster, well, I don't know, you can get a nonstop, but you can certainly, and we'll get more service, but you got to calculate in, again, your drive time, we believe, especially getting across the tunnel and then work going up on Interstate 64 going toward Richmond. And then more reliable. Yeah, we get it. We've lost a lot of service most recently, and we did lose our Philadelphia service from January through about May, but we've got everything back and we're recruiting more. So there's a lot of opportunity. So what's our goal? Our goal is to fill airplanes. And when you fill airplanes, you get more seats. And then we'll fill those seats and get more airplanes, and we'll continue the process. If we recapture 8% of what we've lost over the years, we'll be, once again, I think this has happened twice before, one of the fastest growing airports, if not the fastest growing airport in the country. So we've done it before, we'll do it again. You see the curve where we were at one time and the decline. COVID was a steep decline, but we can come back from that. And if we just double what we have right now, it'll be great. Chairman?
Mike, I'm seeing both the current slide and the next slide, so I don't know if you can change the display but to it, so it's just the current slide. But talking about our facilities, we have an incredible just physical facility. We have over 2,000 acres of land, over 2,200 parking spaces, 180,000 square foot terminal building with 14 gates. We have 2 FBOs, corporate and commercial hangars, and 55 general aviation hangars. So we are a major airport in that regard. 2 things I want to leave you with on this slide. One is we have 2 commercial service runways. Norfolk has 1, and that has implications both for safety and for maintenance scheduling. And second, we have the capacity with our existing facilities to handle over 1.4 million passengers per year. Next slide. Just a quick history on who we are. We are the Newport News Williamsburg Airport is governed and owned by the Peninsula Airport Commission. We are a political subdivision of the state, created in 1946, starting service in 1949. So we are 72 years in business at this point. The acts of the General Assembly contemplated 9 members from 6 municipalities. We currently have 6 members serving from 2 municipalities. And I would just want to leave you with the thought here that the General Assembly created what was meant to be a regional airport. Next slide, please. I don't want to dwell on these numbers, but everyone should recognize that that our airport has an incredible economic impact on the region and the state, exceeding $185 million. The message is that a healthy and busy commercial service airport is critical to the growth and prosperity of the region. Next. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you, sir. An interesting slide because people, we are self-sustaining. Our operating revenue sustains us. That could be something that most folks don't know. I found that to be true all over the country, that people think government runs the airport. Really, no, the airport runs the airport, and the operating revenue, primarily at an airport this size, usually comes from the parking lot. But this airport is a little bit different, that we get most of our operating revenue from rental cars. We do get a lot of business off the street, which is good. So that is a very, very good sign for us. Parking lot revenue would be much better and was much better when AirTran was here. And of course, that sustains us as well. Everything else you can see down the line. And if you look at where airlines come in, not very much. The airlines bring in the business, they certainly do. But most of the revenue, again, comes from rental cars and parking lot, and that's what pays the salaries and keeps the lights on. I did kind of blur out fiscal year 2019. You can see where our budget was when we had both Delta and American providing 13 nonstops daily, to include those 3 Atlanta that we lost. And you can see how much the budget has decreased over time. A little bit of bump in fiscal year 22. We have increased marketing quite a bit as part of this campaign that we're on. And at this pace, even though business is down and we're losing a little money, a little bit of money each month, and we have since the pandemic started, we're sustainable for about the next 10 years. Of course, no one wants to see the same amount of traffic for the next 10 years. We'll pick it up. But just to tell you that everything's fine and running smoothly here as far as operating revenue. So let's talk about marketing a little bit. This is what we're rolling out. Q3 represented the last few days that we're in right now. And all we wanted to do is reintroduce the airport to the community. So a little play on words, try Newport News Williamsburg again for the very first time, and things of that nature. We're trying to have fun. Our billboard out on Jefferson Avenue is up. We still have the one over near the Norfolk International Airport. We're using that. And again, you can see the play on words. It's about time, lose weight. Again, no one can get you faster to the gate than we can. So we're going to play on that as much as possible. For Q4, which we're going to begin October 1st, we're looking to roll out some things. We're a little bit delayed, our parking redesign, and we're going to get a new revenue control system. We want to roll out other things like valet that I think would work nicely here as well. I think the pandemic lingering has hurt us in getting more airplanes back here. But again, we'll be ready when you are to travel. And we're going to just continue the push to reintroduce the airport to the community again for the very first time. And again, more marketing that you'll see, Facebook, internet. If you're browsing the internet or you're on travel sites, you're going to see these pop-ups again and again. Hey, it's us again, come fly. Again, reintroducing this place to you and the community. And short video. So good stuff there. Again, easygoing, quick to the curb, and I'll turn it over to the chairman to discuss a little more.
Yeah, we had 2 great events this month. First, Governor Northam came down to the airport to announce a major economic development project. Area Aviation has broken ground on a 60,000 square foot private commercial hangar. It represents the largest private investment in the airport at over $15 million. They were already in operation at the airport, but they are growing rapidly, and we are retaining and adding close to 200 jobs at this location. They will be servicing both private and government contracts out of this location. The role of the airport was to, there was a question in the box, but I'll just try to address it, which is the role of the airport, yes, is the landlord. We ground lease sites, and this project is funded by private investment, bank loans to ARI. We are the ground lessor and facilitated the deal. Very proud of this. And this follows on the construction of the WM Jordan hangar 2 years ago. So we've had a couple of good hangar projects recently to help the airport grow. Next. The other thing that happened this month is that we accepted a grant from the Federal Department of Transportation. It was a highly competitive process. We won an award that, when packaged with community support, in-kind contributions from the airport, as well as some marketing dollars from the airport, creates a pool of $2 million of incentive funds. The application specifically was for the introduction of nonstop service at least several times a day to Dulles. We do not know yet when that will start. It'll be sometime in 2022. We are working with United Airlines to wrap up those agreements. But we're very excited to be bringing another major legacy carrier to the airport. And we believe that that route, after much research, it will be a very successful route, and that you'll be able to fly to Washington and connect to the rest of the country and the rest of the world, really, through what is a fabulous airport at Dulles. Next. And back to you, Mike.
Thank you, sir. You can see we've done a lot of work since 2016. Most of that, 38 million, in the center checkpoint project, which consolidated TSA's operation at the airport, also a new exit and some other upgrades to that, as well as work on the field. So 38 million since 2016, that's a lot of work in economic development, jobs, job creation, and the like, and just improvements to the safety and security of this airport. And we're planning $40 million more through 2027. In fact, I just got out of a meeting with our engineers and architects to begin a process. Very hopeful for an infrastructure package coming down the pike, which would help this 30-year-old building. Believe it or not, it's getting on 30 years since this building was opened. Right now in the terminal, we have fully funded projects to improve restrooms on the public side, improve jet bridges, either purchase or rehab jet bridges. And the 2 luggage carousels need upgrading, and those are fully funded projects. On the exterior, we know we have roof and window issues, and we're taking care of those, improving the roadways and the parking lot operation as well. We are going to reconfigure the road getting in and out of our parking lot and garage. So beware of that. That's coming down. And we also have a new revenue control system that we've purchased that will make it more efficient. No more ticket jams, no more delays at the gate. And if you choose to, you can pay for your parking on your phone. So we're very excited about all that coming. And lastly, I think this is going to happen on October 8th, Chairman.
Yeah, we're very excited to be hosting the State of the Region address. It'll be an unusual setting for those of you used to maybe meeting at the Marriott or another convention setting. We'll be hosting this in a hangar, and we promise you it'll be a special event, and we'll hear from our guest speakers about what's going on in the region. This won't be about the airport. We're simply hosting the event on site at the airport.
But I'm using you all as future marketers for our airport. If you choose to come and participate in the event, we're going to ask you a few questions. I hope the chamber doesn't mind, but we think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to hosting. My entire staff is dedicated to everyone having a good time here.
Now, I see a couple
do
of
it.
questions in the and that completes the formal slide presentation. I don't know, Senator Mason, if as a panel member, if you want to chime in at this point, if you have any comments before we go to the questions.
Well, thanks, Jay and Mike. Nice job there. I think several of the questions you are demonstrating that you are in the process of focusing on them particularly. Someone asked the question about commercial traffic. Well, what about economic development opportunity? You just showed an incredible announcement of the area aviation. And at that event made a great point of looking over your shoulder and saying there are many more opportunities here behind us. And, I was invited to that. And when you come to those, you realize, you're on the dance card to speak, realize nobody came to hear you. So you're trying to figure out what you say anyway. Well, what struck me as I looked at the audience, there were economic development professionals. There was chairman of the York County Board of Supervisors, the economic development director from Hampton, the head of workforce development for our region, the head of the United Way for the peninsula. There were community leaders from all over the peninsula and the region there because of their understanding and their awareness of what an enormous economic development, an economic impact this airport is for our region. And so while you could perceive it as a Newport News announcement, and it was a great one, everyone in the region was there and involved because they understand the success of the airport is so important to all the things that we are doing here. I think you showed that as well. Someone said, what are you doing to expose the business community? It seems like they were giving Mike a segue to show the chamber state of the region coming up in a hangar coming up. But I think that's a great idea that we do share with all of our business partners. In the past, we've done a pretty good job of working with our corporations and trying to impress upon airlines and the region how important it is to have good, consistent service. But I was at Fort Eustis yesterday, and we were talking about the Virginia Values Veterans Program, the Virginia Transition Assistance Programs. We have all, with Eustis and Langley right here near, walking distance almost to the airport, we really have a vast group of future possible employees. I mean, we've got an incredible source of workforce right here. If we can continue to attract companies in and around the airport, that we can hopefully transition as they move from the military, transition them to great high-paying jobs. The area aviation, they had 2 airplanes behind us that they were retrofitting with incredible communication data. I mean, these are high-end certification jobs that one of the business owners said, Monty, we have to fly to the work now. We take the work to Arizona. Because we've never had a hangar that'll give us the opportunity to do it like this project will here today. So, and in the past, we've had the Aviation Academy over in the old hangar. I think some maintenance problems have led us to have to relocate that. But I'd love to see a conversation about a larger, broader aviation academy in and around the airport. I mean, what a great place to train young people, to get them into business and to focus on workforce with the tools and with the laboratory right there in front of us. So, it is an enormous asset to the region from the time the General Assembly approved it in 46 that you pointed out. And I think us all working together to expose what we're doing to the community to continue to drive the economic development. I take my hat off to you, Jay, and your board for really looking for opportunities for the future. And I think we're at an exciting time. Mike and y'all have really weathered COVID the best that we can. We know what that's done to the airlines across the world. So coming out of this thing, I hope we're poised to build on the successes we had and look forward to looking through some of the questions and answering some as we go along. But thanks, Jay, for the opportunity.
Angie, you want to moderate how you do these questions?
Sure. So we had a question, a comparison of daily flights from 2019 to 21, and another question with regard to area aviation's direct impact to flight service in the airport. And so I thought if you and Mike might be able to expand on basically where we were and where we're heading more specifically with regard to the air service and what that means to the region as it was hard to see all the charts for such a short period of time, but if you could kind of give some little bite-sized pieces about what air service means to our community and how that's specifically coming along.
We had 13 nonstops. 3 Atlantas we lost. We would usually have, in the summertime, we would have 7 to Charlotte, believe it or not, to one destination. Charlotte was 7 times a day, 3 to Philadelphia. Those were on American Airlines. And then we would have 3 Delta to Atlanta. And the noon Atlanta flight was usually a mainline aircraft up to an MD-88, which doesn't mean too much to anybody, but it's a very large aircraft. And or a 737-900, which held up to about 180 people. So, and we were filling those airplanes, and actually we were filling the airplanes to capacity in January and February of 2020 when COVID struck, and we were this close to having United 4 nonstops daily on June 1st, 2020. But of course they backed away. This is without the grant. So we were on our way. We were moving forward. And of course, again, Delta pulled the service, and United will be back as soon as, especially because of the grant, because we're going to guarantee revenue for up to 2 years. So very exciting times, and air service means a lot to the community. Again, it doesn't necessarily bring a lot of revenue to the airport, and this is a very inexpensive airport. There's another misnomer about this airport. It's very expensive to operate on. Actually, our cost per enplanement, which is what we use when we market the airlines, is lower than Richmond and lower than Norfolk. So we are the least expensive airport to operate out of for the commercial service airlines. And I know someone had mentioned also in the questions about aviation and what else are you doing? And then someone said, seems like you're concentrating on airlines vice the rest of the airport. We concentrate on all of it. So I could say 1 minute that I'm recruiting United Airlines, and people are saying, well, what about the ultra low costs, about Allegiant and Sun Country and et cetera, et cetera. We talk to all the airlines. We have great relationships with every airline that is out there, to include Breeze, by the way. I know Breeze announced in Richmond and Norfolk, but I think they too, like Jay had said earlier, Delta made a mistake by leaving. I think Breeze realized, second guessing, that, and I know we have friends across the water, that they may have made a mistake by going head to head with Allegiant in Norfolk instead of coming here and having the place to themselves. So it is the airport's an economic driver. We recruit all all types of businesses, but we're here primarily to move people in and out, and that's what makes us the money.
So Mike and Jay, as a basically an aviation mega site, what are you targeting, and what sort of jobs does Air Aviation and the target businesses that you'd like to bring there, what sort of jobs does our region need to be prepared to fill?
I think Senator Mason hit the nail on the head. We've got military here, and also they come trained and disciplined and ready to go. And we also have another private entity called Airborne Tactical Advantage that flies air-to-air combat against Navy aircraft, and they're also based here at the Newport News Williamsburg Airport. So 2 great already employers that are here, and great paying jobs, like the senator said. And of course that's here. The idea of having an academy or trade or follow on, even a maintenance repair site for an airline, we have property. And then we are also in the program, I mentioned the capital improvements, but what I didn't mention is we are siting a possible cargo facility, about 4 acres of cargo ramp next to that Air Aviation build, which would, again, that for the Amazon Airs of the world, UPS, FedEx, anyone who wants to fly cargo in here, that also is a driver. So it's all over the place, Angie. It really is. I mean, it's every aerospace job. And now we're being mandated at the airport to learn how to integrate with unmanned aircraft. Now, I did that in Kandahar and Kabul and a lot of other places during my Navy career, but it is something that is new territory for commercial service airports. So we're kind of excited about that happening too. How are we going to integrate with unmanned aerial vehicles?
Great. We had a question as well, unrelated to the jobs necessarily that would be created, but more closely related to the military bases. Why have more airlines not realized the vast military bases component in the region, and that they need convenient air transport opportunity and signed up to provide much needed and desired service. So I guess moving our military men in a commercial way. Can you share with us how that might be realized or improved?
So
and what it
Chairman,
takes.
Chairman, I don't know if you want to talk about the GSA thing, but let me just add, in the last month, we've had 4 Boeing 777s, very large airplane, almost 400 seats, carrying soldiers from Fort Eustis. So if there's ever a proof of concept that the military is important and needs to move people in and out of this place, and it can't, maybe for those 4 times it was efficient for the military to charter a 777, which again is a huge airplane. That was the time, but we all know that most of the time they're going to fly commercially, and we fill the seats with a lot of military members. But there is a problem with the system. And Chairman, I don't know if you want to talk about GSA or not.
Sure, it's an old problem for us. Even when we were doing 1 million passengers a year and AirTran was still at the airport, and we had 7 city pairs instead of 2 that we have today, or 3 that we had pre-COVID. We had a constant battle with the GSA to have Newport News inserted into the GSA fare system at reasonable rates. And so we have to add the service. And as we add the service, we have to convince the folks at the General Services Administration and the federal government to make those flights available at reasonable rates to our service members. There's a little bureaucratic, it's a little inside baseball, it's a little bureaucracy, but it's on our list of things to do.
That's great. So we have a question as well about what the near-term vision for general aviation and the future potential for increased urban air mobility technologies. And Mike, I know you've been working on every aspect of making this airport exceptional. And I'm guessing you have a good answer for this.
Yes, I do. On the general aviation side, we support our general aviation community. They are, I would say, in the nation, the backbone of the nation's, having the general aviation pilot, no matter if it's a field like West Point or Williamsburg up the road, or Chesapeake, where I used to fly in and out of in a Navy helicopter, or an airport this size. And what we have is a lot of wonderful ramp space that needs care and feeding. And that's the meeting I just came out of discussing. Number one, improve the ramp on this side of the airport. And by this side, I mean the terminal side and where the old terminal used to be, et cetera, and up where we have Rick Aviation and Atlantic Aviation, who are fixed-based operators. That ramp needs repair. And then I know everyone loves the old terminal building. It is a relic and should be cherished throughout the years, but it has seen its time and it needs to come down because it is unsafe. So we're scoping that project as well. The vision could be endless, whether it's partnering with our fixed-based operators or having a new partner come in. Certainly it would be wonderful to bring the Denby Aviation Academy back to the property and do that kind of thing. So I think with the amount of acres that we have, and it's already improved ramp space, we just have to upgrade it a little bit, knock some buildings down, build some new buildings and hangars. I think the GA community will thrive here, and it would be an experience unlike anything else. And if you haven't seen, I mean, just the other day I saw 3 corporate jets in here in 15 minutes, one being from Waffle House, by the way. So anyway, it's endless for general aviation. And as far as urban vehicles, we talked about it, we are now tasked to come up with an emergency plan for unmanned vehicles. And if we were to build cargo and then get that last mile, first mile, last mile of unmanned space or urban vehicle space, you know, what a terrific hub to work out of with a population of 1.7 million people around us. I mean, again, it's endless.
That's great. So throughout COVID and beyond, or well, even before, this question is relevant, but you know, it's not just the things in the airport, it's also the people. And we have a question about what issues are you having on securing and maintaining workforce, and what jobs are the hardest to fill?
I feel like I'm taking them all, Chairman, but really it's.
Well, I can, I mean, the one,
yeah, go ahead.
It's all the jobs, really. But we've obviously been on a tight budget since COVID hit, leaving some vacancies unfilled. Probably the hardest jobs for us to fill right now are some degreed accounting and back office jobs. So with higher levels of education and experience to help us with our financial reporting, is probably the #1 requirement we have right now. So if you have any suggestions, please reach out to Mike.
Yeah, it varies too. I mean, not everyone can hold a security badge that we need. You know, when traffic picks up, which it will, you know, we're going to have to fill those restaurant jobs. We're going to have to fill those parking attendant jobs, and we're going to do more customer service in the terminal. And some of those don't pay, and we have to compete. We're also competing in public safety and fire, by the way, as municipalities around the Commonwealth are offering incentives to police officers to come in. It's harder and harder to retain our own public safety staff.
I'm just looking at, we have a number of questions here about costs. Why are flights more expensive at the Newport News Williamsburg Airport as compared to Richmond or Norfolk?
I think
So
it's
we have
yeah,
a, yeah, go ahead. I mean, it's economics. We're right now we're filling our flights to 85% plus, which is essentially full, and the airlines use dynamic pricing. And so as the planes fill, the prices go up. So it's a supply and demand issue. And our goal is to, as our planes stay full, is to add supply. I just suggest to you as you shop for airlines, yes, occasionally we will sometimes be more expensive, but other times we won't be. So just, you know, be smart about when you book and how you book. And the other problem these days with the traveling, you know, airlines is that the schedules aren't getting locked in until a very short time out. Used to be you book 6 months in advance, or could book a vacation 6 months in advance. If you do that now, your flight will change 5 times before you fly. And the schedules aren't getting locked in until 60 days out. So, you know, the airline business is still recovering, it is still adjusting, and is still a little chaotic with their own labor and other shortages. So don't assume we're more expensive, just keep checking flights and checking prices.
Senator Mason, from a legislative perspective, what sort of things does the General Assembly need to see to assist the Newport News Williamsburg Airport? How can they best get the ear of your colleagues?
I think creative opportunities and economic development that we just announced, I think is a great way to go about it. attracting industry to Virginia, or as importantly, which we just did with this last announcement, expanding and growing existing businesses here. So that's really what we've got to offer in a big way here is quality of life. And now that the widening of 64 has almost been completed to upper 199, you can be almost anywhere on the peninsula. And not only is it 15 minutes curb to plane, but it's not very long to get to that place because of the transportation structure outside of the gate. So I think that's been beneficial for the airport, which will help us work with folks like the Virginia Economic Development Partnership to try to look at it as the economic engine it could be. It struck me when I was listening to the pricing and the dynamic pricing and the, how airlines are recovering from COVID. Even before it, when I was just listening to and trying to be involved in deals with the airport, it struck me as an outsider that we would show extremely profitable flights, profitable legs. And yet we, I think one of the services we lost made like $7 million a year. And so from the outside, you thought, wow, this is profit. This is real money. But because it's such a grand scale and it's hard to get airlines' attention. And that was pre-COVID, so we've got a good profitable story to tell that will, as Jay said, once we get some more flights, more opportunities, will, you play with that cost for your individual seat. But I think it's just looking at the comprehensive package, the land we've got to develop, the businesses that we can bring in, a possible expanded educational component and getting that aviation academy back on site, maybe with other, maybe with a broader, more regional approach. So I think that's what we look at. The General Assembly doesn't want to fund brick and mortar for one place. They want opportunity from multiple areas, multiple regions, and multiple cities. And I think that plays very well into the footprint of this airport.
That's great. Thank you. We have about 7 minutes left. Jay, do you want to do a little wrap up on your on what you've been talking about and bring? And
Can we talk about the transportation center real quick? So
Sure.
That transportation center I think that is going to be super important for the Virginia Peninsula. And just yesterday, or I think Monday, the governor got on a 5:30 a.m. train, which was another leg from Richmond to Washington. That transportation center should get us slotted, and we need to work right now. So day one, when it opens, to have the third train coming to Newport News from the Eastern. And Mike's a professional. He can probably tell you much better than I, but more transportation options, that bus and the Hampton Roads Transit Hub, more train opportunities right outside of the gate, I think is going to be really important to the region and only continue to grow the area that we're talking about there. So I think that's an important step that we're taking, and we all need to be on board and ready to take advantage of it the day it opens. Sorry,
Thank
Jay.
you, Semper. Very important piece of that. Thank you. And just hopeful that we can sort of bring this full circle and let these fine folks who are with us today on this, watching this panel, know what they can do to help make this a hugely successful airport and regional asset going forward. So Jay, I'd like to start.
Yeah, Angie, you asked for final thoughts, and I think that that's a good segue. It is a team effort. It is a regional effort. If you look at the number of parties involved in pulling together the ARI deal, if you look at the number of people involved that Mike and our team pulled together for the SCASD grant, for the federal grant that we talked about, what you'll find is that it takes not just a little 6-member airport commission or Mike's and his staff. It takes Senator Mason and the elected officials. It takes the economic development professionals at the local and state level, and it takes the business and traveling community. We have had great support from Bob McKenna and the Virginia Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, the leadership, business leadership group on the peninsula, Greater Peninsula Now, with its current president, Greg Garrett, has really gotten engaged lately in helping us. And it is air service development and airport economic projects really are team efforts that require all the stakeholders to be involved. And so I just ask that when we reach out to you, and we will reach out to you, that you help us with your voice and your influence to help pull these projects together. So thank you.
And Mike?
Almost everybody on this call has helped us. And letters of support, I think we had over 40 for the SCASD. Recently, we worked on a project. Senator, we did include the Transportation Center in a grant application to USDOT, trying to proof of concept, first mile, last mile, because it is just about a mile, and possibly a rail connector, maybe way out in the future, but it's okay to dream about stuff like that. But we could certainly do it with electric buses today. That can happen right now. So we can provide transportation from there to here and back, and get people on an airplane or a train or however they want to travel. And everybody on this call that I can see anyway has helped this airport in one way or another in advancing the cause. And we are so grateful for that. And there's going to be more, folks. There's going to be more. So expect an email or a phone call or a letter. So thank you so much.
Great. And Senator Mason?
Well, I think one consistent theme you're hearing is regional cooperation. So since I've been involved in the General Assembly, people talk about, wow, I wish Southeastern Virginia could work together like Northern Virginia. Well, Northern Virginia tell you they don't think they work all that well together sometimes. But we've made strides and made progress with the South Side and the Peninsula working together on larger projects, putting off the high-rise bridge to combine the three legs of 64 and have that as one project. Coming back to the high-rise bridge is a great example. But in this case, the Virginia Peninsula pulls together and has to do so as well, because it doesn't matter if you're James City County, York County, Hampton, Newport News, we are all an entity that has to attract business. Jefferson Lab doesn't just benefit Newport News. Jefferson Lab benefits the entire region. And if we approach the growth and the opportunities of the airport like that, working together with Bob, his team, and others as a whole, I think we'll continue to grow it and have some really continue the positive announcements that you've seen over the last couple of months. So I appreciate everyone's involvement. First step would be come to Bob's thing on Friday and check out the hangar in the airport. That sounds pretty cool. So
Yeah. Okay. So Bob, do you want to wrap it up and let these fine folks who've been watching today know how they can, the questions that had not been answered, how might they be answered? How will we get that information to them?
Sounds good. Thanks, Angie. And to those of you, I see that we still have some more questions in the Q&A box. We will capture those questions. We'll get them to our expert panelist, and we'll get you answers in an email. And if you don't hear back for whatever reason, please contact me, bob.mckenna@vpcc.org, and ask your question again, and let me know which expert panelist you'd like to direct that question to. And while you're at it, ask me to join you for coffee, because I know many people on this call that are in the audience today, and I have not met some of you, and I'd like to meet all of you. So please reach out to me, and let's set up a coffee date and get your question answered. Okay, that was a great conversation. Thanks very much to our distinguished panelists and to Angie Bezic for leading the discussion. Thanks to Senator Mason and Mike and Jay for kind of bringing some more awareness to our State of the Region event, which is October 8th, and it's a morning event. And for those of you who hung with us through the technical difficulties, which began with my deer in the headlights look at the very beginning. Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll give you a special benefit of staying with us and offer you a special price of 2 for $60 instead of 1 for just $30. Yes, that's a joke. But we'd love to have you at this unique event. Jay called it an unusual event, but I think it's a unique event. That's a better word, Jay. Unique event. And Mike Giordino and I both are retired Navy officers, and we've experienced changes of command, retirement ceremonies, and stuff like that in airport hangars. And it's a great location. It's open to the air, which is an added benefit during the COVID pandemic, of course. So today's recording and recordings of the past events in this series will be available on our website. You can check that out later this week. In closing, I would like to once again thank Cox Virginia for making this event possible. And thanks to all of you who joined us today and stuck with us through the program. And we'll see you soon in person, hopefully next Friday, if not sooner. All right, take care, everybody. Thanks.